So I am Marcella DeVoe. I go by Marcella or Marcy, depends on the day or the moment. And I am a full professor at California State University, Northridge. So thanks so much for the invitation to come to Life Journey Writers Club. And I'm just learning more and more about each of you. And the goals for today is to talk about book promotion and how to promote a book on a short string budget. What can you do with a little money? And then book promotion with a big budget, the pros and cons of working with a large publishing company that has a large promotion and marketing budget. And then Miss Yvonne asked me to talk about media relations. So I will talk a little bit about that, how to get your book project or your screenplay, get it recognized with journalists and journalism. For a long time. I was in public television for a long time. I launched the documentary series Frontline, which is still on the air, and some of you may know that series while I was at WGBH. I was their first public relations. Well, I started as their assistant and then worked my way up to public relations director. And while I was, one of the other series that I'm most proud of that I worked on at WGBH was Eyes on the Prize, America's Civil Rights Years, which is now being taught in many of the schools because our history sometimes is not American history that includes African Americans is not always in the textbooks. But this series now has a study guide and is also being taught in public schools. So I opened a public relations company. At the time, it was the DeVoe Group. I used my last name. It was immediately successful, much to my surprise. My first client was the Walt Disney Company, and then Paramount Pictures Television, and then Columbia, ABC, NBC, PBS, everybody came on board, and I got an opportunity to promote all of their programming, most of their programming that included people of color, because they didn't have an understanding on how to reach those markets. And so I was able to make a really good living and have a lot of fun working in commercial television on my own. I had 8 employees. We were a small company, but we did a lot of work. And you may have noticed that this project just got announced. It's now on one of the streaming services. I think it's Hulu. And it popped up on my Facebook page. And a number of my former employees, who I'm still friends with, were talking about how wonderful it was and how exciting it was and what a great time we all had working on this project with Whitney Houston and Brandy and Whoopi Goldberg, and just a really interesting cast. Because I think it really, well, I hope it will help all of you when you're thinking about promoting your own work, whether it's published by a publisher or whether it's self-published. So Seeing in the Dark, Wisdom Works by Black Women in Depth Psychology is a project that 6 of us who went to Pacifica, we're all Black women who went to Pacifica, decided we wanted to get our work out there and we wanted to write our own book. There are very, very few people of color in depth psychology. It is largely a white male European study. And the fact that there are now 4 African-American men, 3 Latinos, and about to be 7, I think 7 African-American women in this field, we decided to write a book and publish our own work here in this anthology. It was edited by one of my classmates, and we initially thought about self-publishing, but then decided not to. And Miss Yvonne and I had this conversation briefly a day or so ago on how tricky it is to do self-publishing. It can really be really difficult, and you can get trapped. And we were fortunate enough to find not only a publisher, the Malibu Press, who was interested in publishing our work, but it was owned by African-American women. So it's African-American women writing a book that is published published by an African-American publisher. And I actually have a little video clip that I'll show you in a minute about one of our book signings when the publisher was able to join us. So I'm going to go back here just for a second now. Tips for promoting a book on a shoestring budget. So we had a shoestring budget. It was zero. We had no money to promote this book. We wrote it. We got it published. The publisher is a very, very small publishing company. And she didn't have money to promote the book. And in addition, we all had full-time jobs. So it wasn't like we could spend a lot of time thinking about how we were going to put this book out. But we did. And some of the lessons that we learned is to keep it simple. You don't have to do a full-scale, bish, bang, boom promotion campaign to get your book out there. Just keep it really simple. We used digital photos to create flyers, and I have one here, and announcements. This was an announcement for one of our book signings at Essawan Books, which is a Black bookstore in Leimert Park in Los Angeles. And we just took the image of the book, took a picture of it, wrote our copy, and put a little bookshelf and a little stamp there, and that was it. So we didn't need to spend a lot of money and a lot of time and energy. What we wanted was the information, to get the information out there. So you can do anything, online is great, and all the tools are there for you to just pull something together really quickly. We also tabled at book festivals. We did a lot of book festivals. $50 to buy the table. And if you smile real nice and you're really nice to the people who are running it, they'll give you a good slot. We went early and offered to set up other people's tables and help the vendors get in. And they ended up moving our table to the front because we helped out. And so we got the first row. Placement at a book festival is really key. You want to be as close to the front as possible when people, A, still have money in their wallet, and B, are still in a good mood, because people come and they bring their kids, and the kids get tired and they get hungry, and by the time they get to the end, they're not interested in hearing from you. So the closer you can get to the entrance is best. We always tried to create opportunities to read when we were in venues. So at book festivals, if there was a main stage, that usually costs more. $50 for the table, $75 if you wanted to read on the main stage. But again, if you come in and volunteer to help them set up, they're really happy. And we had an opportunity to read from our book. And I'm going to show you a picture of us at the book festival because we just thought we were so cute. We didn't have a lot of money to do t-shirts, so we just got red bandanas that we bought at Walmart and put them on white shirts and held up our books. And several news photographers came by and said, "You all are beautiful ladies. What are you doing here?" And we ended up getting our photo in the newspaper because we did something different, right? We threw some red on that I think I paid $10 for 5 of them. And our own photographer came and shot lots of photos that we could use later on. And our photographer, I think, charged us $10. So take advantage of those, what we call low rent opportunities. Get a table at a book festival. In the online world now, you can go to book signings or festivals, but always, always try and read from your book. People remember what you read. They might remember the cover, they might remember the title, but they'll remember you if you read. So in this online environment, try and find those opportunities where you can go and promote your book, but read from your book. Take advantage of independent bookstores for book signings. Most of the major bookstores are gone now, right? The Barnes and Nobles and all the other big ones. But the independent bookstores are there, and they are so welcoming. It drives foot traffic for them to have a signing in their store. People will come, you invite your friends, and people will come, and it's great for the independent bookstores. You sometimes